So that won't be in it. You look up. Let me know when it's off. Yeah, now. What's up, YouTube? What's up, I'm QDC. I'm extra Jenny on Twitter, and we are the Terfs of San Francisco. Of San Francisco. We are the Terfs of San Francisco. One more time. We are the Terfs of San Francisco. And when we say Terf, we mean tired of explaining real facts. That's all it means. We believe in reality. We believe in these simple truths. Biological sex is real. There are two sexes, female and male. No one can change sex. Gender ideology is based on regressive sex role stereotypes. Children cannot consent to lifelong medicalization, irreversible surgeries, and sterilization. And finally, self-ID is government-sanctioned legal fiction. We are mothers, grandmothers, daughters, wives, girlfriends, aunts, nieces, friends, and we're your neighbors. We are Democrats, we are Republicans, we are independents. We are straight and we are lesbian. We are regular women just like you, and we can no longer stay silent while watching our rights get taken away and our children getting experimented on. This is the public record of our dissent. Our first speaker is one of the co-founders of SF Terf Central. Woo!
Welcome to a gorgeous day of sex realism, people. Know that narcissism, malignant narcissism, is one of the main drivers of this trans craze. Men getting into women's spaces is what they want. That's what turns them on, and it's disgusting. We do not want men in our spaces. Prisons, sports, locker rooms, bathrooms, dressing rooms, anywhere we're vulnerable, no men allowed. That's how it's been for years and years and years. Let's go back to that. We're not safe. Megan Rapinoe, or whatever your name is, you're a sellout. You're done playing. Your team lost to 16 and under boys as a national women's team. And now you're saying it's okay for men to be in women's sports. It's not. Billie Jean King, you're one of my biggest idols. Get on board. Martina knows what she's talking about. Talk. Tennis is the greatest, but not against men, for women. We are here. We are strong. We're growing. We're not giving up ever. Get on board, people. Let's go. Up here or down there? The sun is very much okay.
Guys, speak up.
I will. Hi, my name is Amy. My youngest son is part of a truly vulnerable and marginalized population. He has cerebral palsy and cortical visual impairment. He cannot walk and relies on a wheelchair. I homeschool him for a myriad reasons, a big one being that there is no way I'm going to send him off daily to an institution where a beloved authority will teach him that children can be born in the wrong body, that his body could be a mistake. Extrapolate that out. What is happening is not only happening to the children confused about their identities, all of our children are being indoctrinated with a belief system that is not based in reality. How does a disabled child reconcile this? He cannot magically transition to able. He is taught that he is broken, but unlike the trans children in his school, there will be no glitter, no love bombing, no flag to wave, and no way to fix his body. What do you suppose that does to his sense of self, his mental health? Children are encouraged to embrace body positivity, but then we turn around and tell them that their bodies might just as likely be flukes, glitched somehow. Why are we gaslighting children? Trans-identified children can no more change their sex than my son who can stand up and walk. But if my or your child knows and says that, a science teacher may tell him that they're wrong, offensive, that sex is a spectrum, that they better get with the program or risk being labeled a bigot and suffer a struggle session dressed up as social and emotional learning. We decry the fate of detransitioners, but all of our children are being irreparably damaged. Why are we teaching them to ignore their senses, their knowing, cleaving their bodies from their minds? Why are we encouraging them to lie and calling it kindness? Why would we override what evolution has gifted our daughters? That survival instincts that tells us within seconds if we are dealing with a woman or a man. Why would we mute the alarm bells, the red flags, the sensation of fight or flight that readies them to defend themselves by telling them that the young man in their locker room is a girl, that they should undress, make themselves vulnerable, and not notice the girl penis next to them? Why on earth would we reframe their normal needs for safety, privacy, and dignity as harmful, modesty as problematic? Why are we letting them tell our daughters they're perverts for knowing a naked man when they see one? Why should our daughters even aspire to compete in sport and dream of Olympic medals when faster, stronger men can grow out their hair and steal their valor? Why should young girls study and strive only to find themselves working for companies and ruled by governments that are, as the WHO recently put it, not sex balanced, but gender balanced? Meaning if there are 10 positions on a board or some subcommittee, 5 of those would be filled by men, and the other 5 could be filled by men who say they're women. Why should young girls embrace womanhood when we are not allowed to define ourselves, when those who dare are labeled transphobic? But instead, we are reduced to bodily functions and at the same time are told that anatomy means nothing, that to be aware of our biological difference makes us Nazis. Why should gay boys and lesbian girls feel any pride when they are called genital racists for being attracted to the same sex instead of the same gender? when they are told they are fundamentally broken and that only denouncing their sex and committing to alteration through pain and scars, their cast-off organs floating in formaldehyde, that only that will fix them? Why would any young woman report an attack when right before trial her rapist could suddenly realize he's a woman? When she, the victim, would be forced to testify, she raped me with her penis. And this is not me catastrophizing, this is happening. When she knows that if convicted, the trans-identifying rapist will be housed in a women's prison, that women with zero agency or protection will be caged with him, raped by him, impregnated by him, when those women must labor in birth in shackles? And what of those children born to incarcerated women, ripped from their mothers and placed in foster care? Last year, Naomi Wolf wrote something that really resonates with me. She shared that she had never been religious, had always been secular, but the last few years have caused her to apprehend on a cellular level that evil exists. How she found herself reaching for the Torah for the first time, reading Psalms to give herself something to cling to help her mitigate this hellish nightmare we're all enduring. For surely, when children are offered up on a rainbow altar in the name of a new religion, at the behest of a behemoth consisting of careless and pitiless politicians, greedy alchemists, and soulless merchants, when sanctimonious scribes hurl abusive slurs and smears at heretical women who will not submit, when the houses of our old gods stand silent, complicit, while the priests of the new sacred caste are elevated, untouchable, and unaccountable, when mothers, we are mothers, not birthing people, are stalked, threatened, assaulted, and worse for doing the one thing almost every mother knows it is her duty to do, to protect her children, all the children. When good people everywhere are othered, unpersoned, and monstered for daring to question any of the codified tenets forced on us without our consent or permission to debate, only to be redeemed if we chant their mantras, wave their banners, believe and speak their lies, when loving parents who know the very bones of their children can be accused of abuse and neglect for proceeding with care and caution, refusing to automatically affirm their child's chosen gender, when the state can then use those charges to take our children into care, surely we are living in some kind of hell.
Next is the founder of womenareal.org. Woo! Woo! Yeah! I am a mother. I am a sister. I am a daughter. I will always be those things. I can change my hair, I can change my body, I can change my clothes, but I will always be those things, and I will always be a woman. All women deserve safety and dignity. All women deserve safety and dignity in sports. All women deserve safety and dignity in shelters. And all women deserve safety and dignity in prisons. But right here in the United States, and especially in California, women are locked in cells with men. In 2021, California implemented SB 132, which allows men to request transfer to a woman's prison. These requests cannot be denied based on their physical anatomy. They can have intact genitalia. They do not have to take hormones. They do not have to have surgery. These women are locked in cells with men. It is a humanitarian disaster to have women in cells with men. Women are being raped. Women are being punished for speaking up. Women are being silenced, and women are terrified. I am honored today to read a letter from a woman who is incarcerated in California and locked in a cell with a man. Here is the letter. Imagine you are a woman who is a survivor of domestic violence. Imagine you are punished by the very people sworn to protect you. Imagine you have been sentenced to life in prison as a young woman.
decades of prison, after learning to cope in an unforgiving world on the inside, you come face to face with the very kind of people who have victimized you. Men. Men that have been convicted of rape. Men that have been convicted of molesting children. Men that have been convicted of murdering their wives. Men that have killed their girlfriends by beating them to death. You have nowhere to hide. Men have now been given free passage to be locked in a cell with you. All because they claim they were born in the wrong body. This is our daily life here in prison in California. Once they arrive, they cease all hormone treatments and resume their lives as men. They lay on the floor of your cell so they can watch you while you shower and while you go to the bathroom. They demand you cook for them. They demand you clean for them. And they demand you have sex with them or you face the consequences. More than half of all incarcerated women are victims of some sort of trauma at the hands of men. The system tells you just ask for help. What they don't tell you is about the fear of further punishment or retaliation if you do ask for help. We roll the dice around here every day when all we long for is to thrive, when all we long for is to be free of the persecution we face simply because God created us as women, when all we long for is to be brave enough to stand in our perfectly created divine design. We are women. We are locked in cells with men. Listen to our cry from behind these walls and help us.
Picture it. A child comes home from school and asks, "Mommy, am I a girl or a boy?" About 100 miles away, a mom picks up her 8-year-old after her first day of school. "Oh, how's your teacher, Miss Carlson? Do you like her?" "Hey, Mom, Miss Carlson is a man." A high school teacher gives her class an assignment. Write an essay describing your gender identity. Nick writes one sentence: "I don't believe in gender identity." He gets an F. His mom cheers him on and congratulates him. Is this the kind of world we want our kids to grow up in? I think it's time for all of us to show up. Show up where? At a school board meeting. If you have children in your local school district and are concerned about retaliation towards you or your child, go to a neighboring district or go even farther away. Speak out there. You don't want to go alone? Bring a friend. But keep coming back. Keep coming back. Thank you.
All right, who's next? This is the other co-founder of SF Terf Central.
Greetings from San Francisco. Woo! In the UK, Hyde Park, London, the city of Bristol. In the US, Tacoma, Washington, and New York City, and down under in the city of Auckland, New Zealand. In these places, many women gather to publicly voice their concerns about the transgender identity movement, only to be silenced by violent black-clad men in masks. But the city of Auckland was worse. There, a 70-year-old woman was beaten in the head by a crazed trans activist. And Kelly J. Keene, the organizer of the rally, was almost crushed to death by a throbbing LGBTQ+ anti-protester group. Many women wanted to speak that day in Auckland, but couldn't. And so today, we honor the voices of the Auckland women by reading the speech that one of them, Sasha Jones, a stand-up comedian, interestingly enough, had intended to present. The following speech is by and for Sasha. Woman jailed for life for torture and murder, denied leave to appeal to Supreme Court. New Zealand Herald, 6th of September, 2022. This was the headline the New Zealand Herald, our main newspaper, recently chose for its report on the crimes committed by a 29-year-old man who self-identifies as a woman while committing the most extreme acts of sadistic and misogynistic violence, namely the torture and murder of a teenage girl, abuse that included stripping her to the waist, using her underwear to gag her, and setting a blowtorch to her genitals, torturing her for hours before asking her by which means she wanted to be killed, hanging or stabbing. Women don't do these vile things to other humans. How dare our courts and media suggest we would and did? When I first heard about this crime and trial in 2019, I was driving, and hearing the court reporter describe the killer as a woman, I had to pull the car over as I could barely breathe. For the total body shock to my senses that unbelievable statement produced. Every instinct in me rejected that sex label for the person who had committed those despicable and ultra-male crimes. And every one of those instincts proved sound. The killer was indeed a man, and his crimes were clearly motivated by a misogynistic hatred of that young, pretty girl. I was not aware then, in 2019, that the New Zealand courts and media could be made to so brazenly misrepresent such a serious male crime by reporting it as having been committed by a woman. And this was before any gender self-ID law had even been debated in Parliament, let alone passed, as it now has been. No debate, really? The mother of the murdered woman was in court when her daughter's killer was referred to as female throughout, because rubbing salt in her wounds was considered totally acceptable for our justice system to condone in order to respect her daughter's killer preferred pronouns. Unbelievable. I became officially a TERF that day, and declaring as much on my Facebook, I was inundated with extreme hostility and mass unfriending from people I had called friends from some years, male and female, young and not so young, telling me without any discussion how wrong and hateful and bigoted I was. One young male friend of my son's even presumed to tell me, "It's not too late to change your mind. You've got so much to lose." Another told me, "I am blinded by hate for trans people, and that trans rights won't affect your women's rights." He was 24. Having a PhD in politics from that university over there, Sasha meant Auckland, that was focused on the justice system's inadequate response to male violence against women, I probably knew a bit more about my rights as a woman and the risk to those rights than that male entitlement in the form of trans self-ID poses than those young males did. I also knew when justice systems do not clearly distinguish the sexes, women as victims and perpetrators are systemically represented, misjudged, and wrongly punished by systems that are designed by and for males. Sex recognition in law and policy is absolutely vital to justice for women, not least when it comes to crime and punishment, much of which is committed by men against women. However, since then, the viewpoint of these young and uneducated, mostly male people on the rights of men to identify as women and change sex by mere declaration versus women's rights to be protected from male violence, intimidation, and perversion as much as possible has prevailed over my older, much more educated opinion, here in New Zealand, Aotearoa, as elsewhere across the Western world. All the while, rates of male violence and abuse against women in and out of the home, trans identified or not, have continued to rise here as elsewhere. I concluded my 2008 thesis by arguing that justice for women's demands, we have a right against gender domination, added to our Bill of Rights to give much more teeth to our laws and policies to prevent and properly punish sex-based violence against women. Today, I would phrase that as a right against sex domination, because the word gender has now been co-opted to further this new and in some ways even more women-hating movement than is trans activism. Sadly, my formerly feminist daughter, 27 years old, has signed up to this new misogyny, as have so many other young women and some older women too, creating a further rift between women that weakens the feminist sisterhood we all need to effectively fight for our rights. My daughter might even be here today, on the other side of those barriers, screaming at her mother for being unkind and wrong. I hope not. Either way, it's a bloody uphill battle, but we must continue to speak up for womankind, even if some of our kind don't want us to. We must speak up for that tortured, murdered girl, for her mother, and for our feisty female instincts for self-protection. Instincts that tell most of us, without any shadow of a doubt, that men in dresses are not women, and that some of them hate us and want to hurt us as much, if not more, than any other man does or ever did. If we deny trans women or men and potentially dangerous, we are being anything but kind. We are being profoundly unkind to women and girls by putting us at even more risk of harm from men than we are already in, which is a lot of risk. If violence and homicide statistics between men and women are anything to go by, and they should be, they are the firm facts, not the flimsy feelings. Facts, not feelings. Let women speak. For Sasha, for Auckland, for San Francisco, for the world, for all women and girls.
I am so excited to introduce our next speaker. She helped peak me, and she has peaked probably thousands of women around the world. Excellency! Hi, nice to see you here. It's really great to be here. I want to talk a bit about one of the ways that we can kind of push back against this, which would be religious freedom. I talk a lot about a concept of gender atheism, and gender atheism is the idea that we do not believe in gender identities, just as atheists do not believe in deities. And so we are told that other people have something in their brains, something in their minds called a gender identity, for which there's no physical proof, there's no physical material reality to it that can be verified objectively. In fact, when some UCLA researchers thought that they could use brain scans to identify gender dysphoria, there was a huge backlash from the trans community. So they are on the same page that this is not something that can be verified. Detransitioners especially know that it's not something with a material reality that was verified prior to putting them down this track. So we do not have to believe in immaterial entities for which there's no physical proof. We can't be compelled to believe in something we cannot see or feel or touch or otherwise verify exists. We are asked to believe, take out faith, that the other people have something that is a gender identity, and then we're supposed to pray to this gender identity, i.e. we're supposed to mouth words that symbolize our belief in it and our desire to placate it in some way. And if we do not placate this gender identity, this personal deity that occupies the body of the person or is somehow unified with them in some way, or otherwise this they claim to be there, if we do not pretend to believe in it, we are punished. And you know, Dylan Mulvaney recently was going viral on Twitter for a call to make it illegal to not pray to his gender identity. That is a blasphemy law. Blasphemy laws don't go anywhere good. So as gender atheists, we must assert our right to religious freedom, our right to not believe in things that have not been shown to exist. We have a right to say that we have our female sex-based rights because our femaleness is grounded in material reality. It's not a feeling, it's not a belief. And so to compel us to pretend to believe in other people's gender identities is a violation of our religious freedom. And I believe that
that is one of the stronger ways that we can assert our rights if given the attacks on sex-based rights. We also, I believe, if somehow we are to lose our sex-based rights, and they're going to get rid of the idea that there's a sex difference, that threatens our other rights. Our right to vote as women is rooted in our sex difference. The 19th Amendment explicitly mentions sex. It doesn't talk about gender. It doesn't talk about beliefs in what you are. It says that our right to vote should not be denied on the basis of sex. And so when they attack the idea of sex in law, they're attacking things like our protection for our right to vote. Because what is our right based on if there's no such thing as sex difference? Why wouldn't they be able to then restrict our rights on the basis of things like having a uterus if that's no longer representative of sex difference? We need to have this idea in law that there is a sex difference and there are entailments to that difference. And so one alternative too would be to then allege that if we do not have a sex difference, these differences must fall under the category of disability, and therefore we have disability rights because they're either there's two kinds of normal, which would be a sex difference, or there's one normal and one deviation, and then the deviation should be considered to impair a certain function. For instance, our ability to not get pregnant. There's other legal ways of getting around this. We just have to remember that we have a lot of rights, and our rights as females, our rights as women, our rights as Americans are being violated by these demands that we pretend to believe in something that's not there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for showing up to watch. Right now?
Are we ready?
Okay, good. I'm ready to. You want me to read it now? Okay. I'm going to close out with a poem, and then we're going to sing our song, okay? Great. Real women speak. Real women think. Real women sick and tired of men showing off their kink in our bathrooms, in our prisons, and even in our sports. There's no such thing as girl dick, so keep it in your shorts. No such thing as female penis. Men can't have a female brain. Insisting that it's otherwise just proves that you're insane. A woman's not a hairstyle. She's not a fancy dress. She's made inside her mother when sperm and egg coalesce. We all know there's two sexes. We all know this is true. You can stomp your feet, call us names, hold your breath until you're blue. It will not change the facts of life, won't change our point of view, that a man can't be a woman, a girl can't be a boy. Chopping off kids' body parts is not the path to joy. It's a path, it's a recipe for sadness, a life based on a lie. And people will remind you, no matter how you try to compel our speech with pronouns that don't match what eyes can see. We hear deep voices, we see big hands, we can't deny biology. So what we are demanding is freedom to speak truth. We want our space, we want our words. We're done with this abuse. Women! Women! We hope that you will hear us. We hope you'll join this fight in taking back our words, our space,